All right, here is how to use Windows Virtual Desktop and get to Photoshop, and also how to get to your actual film scan. So the first thing that we are going to want to do is it's going to be easiest if you can add your folder of scanned images to your school Google Drive because it's going to make it a lot easier to find in the Windows Virtual Desktop system. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is go to our folder, and then you're going to find your folder, the one with your name on it. You can do this for, if you have multiple folders, you can do this for multiple folders. And then what you're going to do is when you get to that folder, there's a little drop down and you can add a shortcut to your drive. And you can even put it within a particular folder. So I'm going to put it within my Photo 1 folder. You can even, go further than that, but I'm just going to put it in my Photo 1 folder and add shortcut. Okay. And that, again, is going to make it a lot easier to find once you're in the Windows Virtual Desktop. Okay, next, back in our correctly edited film scan Canvas assignment, you should make sure that you have read through the instructions for getting to Windows Virtual Desktop. That's in this presentation. That's the one that looks like this, the Accessing Adobe Photoshop. Just because there's a lot of different things that can go wrong. So reading through this is helpful. I'm going to go ahead and go to the shortcut here to the login. Your login, like when you click on that, might look a little bit different. I'm not sure exactly how it looks for you all. But the most important thing is always making sure that you're using your Howard County login because that is how we'll make sure that you get to the real program and not be asked to use a trial or something like that. Okay, now when you get here, you're going to click on Session Desktop. I can't use that one. The only one that works for me is Visual Arts Staff, but you're going to click on Session Desktop, okay? Actually, you probably won't even see Visual Arts Staff, but once you're in your, once it logs in, then the next thing that you can do is I'll show you how to get to Photoshop, and I'll show you how to get to the Google folder that you just added to your drive. Okay. So when you click on the Start menu, let's go ahead and do the Google Drive first. This is how to get to Photoshop. It's just a menu item. But when you scroll down, Google Drive is the next thing that you want to do because we're going to basically link your Google Drive, your school Google Drive, to this virtual desktop. So when you click on that, it's going to ask you to set it up. You are going to click this Sign in with browser. You might have this come up already, especially if you've already tried something like this recently, or you might just have to type in your Howard County info again. It's going to ask for access, and all of that is just something that you can allow. And then you can close this window and go back to your virtual desktop. You'll notice that there's this little thing on your virtual desktop now. I think you can just ignore that. I don't think that is anything that you need to do. I think it just is there. Okay, so let's go ahead and open Photoshop. And then I will also show you how to get to your image or your folder. I mean, get an image from your folder. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can open let's try on your computer. Let's see if this works. It does. Okay, so let me try that again because I was just testing that. So once you're in Photoshop, you're going to go ahead and click Open, and you're going to click on your computer, and you're going to click Google Drive File Stream, your drive. I have to double click, and then photo 1 is where I put mine. You might have put yours somewhere else. And then Apple, what did I call it? Oh, Apple 19. Okay. So that is the folder that has my scanned images in it. So when I double click that, I can then get to any of the images. And so I'm gonna, the one that I want, I think it's a little bit further down. Let me scroll. Okay, there it is. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one and open it. And it's just thinking, but there it is. Okay, so now I have my image open. I have the ability to start working on it, and that is great. The first thing that you are going to want to do is to crop your image because there's extra information that is not your picture, like extra visual information outside of your picture frame. And so I'm going to do that using the crop tool. And also, before I even do that though, I'm going to recommend turning something off, at least while you're cropping, because it makes it hard to crop exactly. So you're going to go to View if you want to, and uncheck this snap function. And again, what that allows me to do is get really precise without Photoshop trying to predict where I am trying to go. So I'm going to use the crop tool for this, which is right here. I can also type C on my keyboard to get there. Once I click on it, it is going to go to the crop tool will kind of like automatically appear around my image. And then I can carefully drag the corners until I'm right at the edge of my picture. I want to cut off as little as possible. If needed, I can rotate my crop. So notice how, my arrows are straight if I'm just dragging corners. My arrows become curved if I move outside of the corner because, if your image is a little crooked, it may be necessary to turn it just a bit. So then trying to get this as accurate as possible. Let's go back to 0. And lose as little information as possible. All right, let's try that. I'm going to hit check. And I did a pretty good job. I did kind of leave this tiny area up here, so I'm going to see if I can remove that. I'm going to hit crop again. And then, oh my gosh, stop showing me that video. Okay, and then try to just move it in like the tiniest bit and see if that'll work. Okay, much better. Okay, awesome. All right, so now, another thing that you might have to do, depending on your picture, is you might have to rotate it. So if you need to, you can go to Image, Image Rotation, and then you have these choices here. 180 would be like completely upside down. Clockwise, would turn it to the right. Counterclockwise would turn it to the left. And so I'll just show you, clockwise, you can see that happened. I can undo on my computer, Command Z. It might be like Control Z on a PC or a Chromebook. Okay. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I need to make this image grayscale, which might sound silly because it already looks grayscale, but it's in RGB mode, which is color. So I'm going to go to Image, Mode, Grayscale. It is important that I do this at this stage before I've started adding layers. It is okay to discard the color information. And I just do that because we don't want things appearing like green or purple, which can sometimes happen if we don't do this. Okay, so now next, I have my grayscale image. I can see that because it's gray up here. I'm gonna go ahead and make it into a positive. So right now it's a negative, and things look reversed, black and white reverse. I'm gonna go up to image, adjustments, and then invert, and it's going to make my values reverse. Ta-da! So now it looks like, more like how it looked in real life. The next thing I need to do though is it's pretty gray. And so most of yours are going to look pretty gray, when you open it. This is how you address that. Okay. So to get my values to have some more contrast, to get my darks darker and my lights lighter if needed, I'm going to create an adjustment layer. So one of the great things about Photoshop is that you are able to edit in a way that's called non-destructive editing, meaning that if I at any point want to go back and undo something, I absolutely can. So the way to do that is to create what's called an adjustment layer in this case. And so I'm going to move my my mouse over to the very bottom of my screen. It's very small. It's in the extreme bottom right. And when I hover over it, this little kind of cookie shape says create new fill or adjustment layer. I'm going to click on that, and let's go to levels. Okay. So just one more time, what I did was I moved over to the bottom right, clicked on this little menu, and I selected levels. I'm not going to click it again because it already opened, but now you can see that I have this little properties window that pops up. I have this mountain shape that is appeared here. This is called a histogram, and it is representing all of the values in my photograph. And so what you can do is you can adjust basically these triangles that are at the bottom of the histogram to tell Photoshop to make the extreme values, like the darkest and the lightest, to change them. Okay, so I'm going to take this darker triangle and drag it over to right here, like where that mountain begins. And you'll notice in the image, you can see my shadows getting darker, my darks getting darker, and it really looks like a lot better already. So again, it started, excuse me, from over here, and moving this little triangle over to the right substantially, makes that a whole lot better. I'm going to do the same thing with this triangle over to the right. So I'm going to drag it leftwards until it kind of joins the beginning of that mountain. And again, already, has made this image a whole lot stronger. I can continue slowly to keep working on that to see if do I want even darker darks? Do I want even lighter lights? I can also move this middle triangle to see, what that does. Okay. So other adjustment layers can be added, but before I do, I want to show you again, kind of the exciting thing about non-destructive editing. So over here, it's kind of hard to see because it's so little, but you have now your layers window. I have my background, which is the photograph itself, and then I have this adjustment levels, and the eyeball allows you to kind of see what that layer is doing, and turn it off if necessary. So if I click this eyeball, then I'm right back to where I started with my image, which is a really nice feature because again, you're not destructing the original. You're kind of just adding changes that can always be undone at any point. All right, so I'm going to put that back and I'm going to show you, you also can explore different different adjustment layers. So let's try one for brightness and contrast. Um, Notice how it's made another separate level. I can explore like what happens if, I just adjust the overall brightness, maybe increase the contrast just a little bit. And sometimes, it can be hard to tell, like, hey, do I like this? Do I not like this? You can go down to the levels menu and turn it off and say, like, which one of these do I actually like better? Do I like it with the new changes that I made or without? Okay, so the next thing that I want to show you is removing any dust that may have appeared on your scan. So what I'm doing right now is I have zoomed in and I'm kind of scanning over the photograph to see if there is any dust. And there's a little. So, yours may have more or less, but, I'm going to show you how to fix it either way. Okay, so how am I zooming? On my trackpad, I'm just zooming in the way that you might normally. You can also, though, on your keyboard, Command or Control plus. Okay, so I'm just hitting Command plus. Will zoom you in. Command minus will zoom you out. And a useful thing to know is that Command 0 will kind of make your image fill the screen. Like you'll see the whole thing. So if you zoom in really far and like kind of forget what you're doing, Command 0 will just bring you back to the original. All right, so I'm gonna start here. There's a little teeny tiny spot there that is probably from dust. Sometimes you might be like, I'm not really sure if this is just part of the picture or not, but either way, you're the photographer, so you get to decide if you think it's distracting or not. The way to fix little dust spots or other errors like this is to use something called the spot healing brush or the clone stamp. And I'll show you both. Importantly, though, you have to be on the background layer of your image. Otherwise, it will not work at all. So you have to be, right now I'm on this brightness and contrast layer. I need to click the background layer. Otherwise, again, it will not work. All right, so here's the spot healing brush tool. It looks like a little Band-Aid. I can click on that. And it brings up the circle is telling me how big my brush is. I can easily make that bigger or smaller, by the way, by typing on my keyboard. The brackets that they're like over near the delete key and the return key. So if I just type, left bracket, it's making it smaller, right bracket, it's making it bigger. And those shortcuts are kind of nice to know about. All right, so ta-da! I just clicked on it and it magically, well, I think it's kind of like magic. It used math to figure out like what that probably should look like. So I'm going to undo that so you can see it again. This is where we started. And if I just go over to it and click on it, it has kind of like averaged out what's around it and fixed that little error. We can do the same thing here. Bloop. And anywhere else that I see something that doesn't quite feel, like it should be there. Okay. This image isn't too bad. And again, some of yours, might have a lot more. By the way, the kind of like specks that you can see that are just making up the image, that's actually the grains of silver inside the film. That's what light responded to, and that's how we have a picture. All right, I'm going to fix that one. And then this little like tiny hair, seems like a good place to demonstrate the clone stamp tool. The clone stamp tool just gives you a little bit more control over what's happening when you try to fix an error. And it may be necessary sometimes because the spot healing brush may just not quite work the right way in some instances. So to get to the clone stamp tool, I'm going to click on this, the little clone stamp over here. By the way, both of these tools, the spot healing brush and the clone stamp, have additional options. So like if I click on this little like tiny triangle, it does have some options, and sometimes people accidentally turn those on, like with a trackpad, kind of an accidental scroll. So make sure you're in the clone stamp tool. We don't want to use the pattern stamp tool right now. And same thing for the spot healing brush. Like you don't want any of these. Why won't it let me get to the menu? Anyways, you don't want the other options for that. Oh, there it is. You don't want any of these other ones right now. There's great uses for all of them, but right now we just want the spot healing brush tool. Okay, clone stamp tool. Yikes, my brush is huge. Okay, so I'm gonna make that smaller. I'm using my bracket. So what I want to do with the clone stamp tool is I'm basically saying like, here's what I want. It's almost like you're using your picture as a painting palette. You're saying like, oh, I like this area. I want to use that as my paint and paint it over this little spot. So it's really helpful to find an area that looks exactly like what it should look like. So I'm going to try to kind of copy this area and just put it here. So I'm going to, when you click option or hold option rather, it turns into this little target because you're saying like, this is where I want my paint to be from. All right. So option click, I've chosen that. And then it does give you a little, preview. And so, notice how that happens. And then I can just click and paint, right? So I'm using, that as my palette. I'm going to undo that so that you can see it again. Okay, so I want to choose my paint, option, click, and then like when I hover over it, it previews. So it's sort of hard to maybe see what's happening because it looks like it already happened. But to actually get it to paint, I have to click and drag like as if I'm painting. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'll use the clone stamp also to fix this little part of the hair. And then, okay. Here's how we do that. So option, click here. And now I'm using this darker color to carefully cover up that. Awesome. Okay. So, let's zoom out to see how the whole thing looks. I'm going to use my Command 0 to get to like the whole window. Also, Photoshop got a little mad at me because I was maybe scrolling too much, so that's why it's going super slow right now. There, woo. Okay, so I think, you know, we're looking pretty good. I'm gonna I see a couple other dust spots that I want to fix. And so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay. Oops. So right there, it looks like one. I'm going to go back to the spot healing brush tool. The spot healing brush tool will work in most situations. And then I'm just going to paint over that. Ta-da! I'm going to see if I notice anything else. There's maybe a little one. There's maybe a little one. This is always when I notice how dirty my screen is. Like trying to discover if it is it dust or is it dirt on my screen? And that can actually be That's why it's nice to kind of move the image around as you're looking so that you can tell if it feels like it's just something on your screen or if it's actually in your picture. And some of the things that I'm fixing might actually just be like, little parts of the tree. However, if they're distracting, then, it's okay to have fixed them even if they were actually really in your picture. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. I don't know what that is, maybe. I think that's pretty good. Although I could kind of do this forever. It's a little bit soothing. All right, now I'm going to show you how to save your image. You're going to want to save it in two different ways. One, as a Photoshop document, which will keep your layers intact in case you ever want to keep making more changes. That's important because you spent some time, making this right, and you want to make sure that you still have access to those layers later. So to do that, we're going to go to File, Save As, and you're going to choose on your computer, and you're going to put it in your Google Drive. So Google Drive, My Drive, and then I will put it right back in my Photo One folder, and as a Photoshop document. Except I think I already have one there, so I might need to, I'm going to put like a number 2 on the end. Okay, so just save it as, make sure that this says Photoshop, and hit save. You can hit OK. You can also hit don't show again for the maximize compatibility. So now it's safe in your Google Drive. I also want to save this as a JPEG. So File, Save As, save on your computer. Now the only thing that I need to change is where it says Save As Type. I'm going to hit that little drop down and choose JPEG. Just normal JPEG, not 2000 or stereo. So JPEG right here, and then hit Save. When I get this options, I want to make it the maximum. So right now it's 8 quality. I want to drag this over to the right, 12 maximum, and then hit OK. And now that is also in my Google Drive. The JPEG is going to be, that's what you're going to use with like your Google site or turning into Canvas. The Photoshop document is just helpful for when you want to make further edits or so that you have that. Okay, when you are done, please make sure to close Photoshop and also log out of the virtual desktop. So the way to do that is, I closed out of Photoshop by clicking that little X in the corner. Now, where it has my username, I'm going to click sign out. And that's really important that you do that every time. For me, it shows up then pick an account. Which account do you want to sign out of? I just click that one and it tells me that I have succeeded. Okay.